Glad you could make it there, Matt.
Good morning, Mary and all.
Good morning, Mr. Weld. How are you today?
Raring to join you and the crew here. How did you make your avatar?
It's a Bitmoji, and then I dressed her like my Northwest STEM shirt, and then I just stuck my logo on her.
I've been researching.
This is my idea of fun.
It is fun. Everyone needs an avatar, but they cost money to make. I see some of the sites. Well, the only ones I could find where you can actually use a picture of yourself to create the emoji cost money. Otherwise, you can kind of make one out of some stock imagery that you paste on ears, glasses, eyes.
I just have it through Bitmoji through Snapchat. It's free.
Oh, Snapchat. Okay.
It's an app.
Yeah, I got it. I hadn't thought of that.
Yep, that's all I used. And then you can also, with Chrome as your browser, you can have it be an extension. And so then you can use it in, all your Google apps and things like that. And then also you can put them in emails and things like that too. So.
All right. I see you're up off the couch.
Yes.
Love it.
For those of you joining, I am putting a few messages throughout our meeting in the chat. So you're going to want to make sure that you have your chat on so that you can get all the messages that I'm putting out there. While we're waiting, enjoy some of my coffee humor. You'll note that the coveted Northwest STEM glass is located somewhere in every slide. Might be fun to find it. You might want to actually find your mug as well too.
Okay.
We will be recording our session as well.
You got a good community here, Mary.
Always. I've told you forever, Northwest is the best,
You're rocking it. Good to see Janet. Kudos to you, Janet. I hear you gave more than your fair share of time to the polling on election day. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I had 2 other people with me in our little precinct, and, I wasn't bored. We did run into like 2 times and we found nothing to talk about, but, that's pretty good for 16 hours or whatever.
I'm sure I speak for everyone when I salute you and everybody who worked the polls. You guys were heroic.
Well, everybody who came in, it had masks, you know, they just followed all the rules that were in place. It was fine.
Good. You felt safe. Good.
Oh, Aaron, shoot, I just saw you drinking out of my mug. Just warms my heart. Woohoo! Tyler Hahn, I love your background. You are still our Northwest All-Star. You should be on a poster. You know, really, you should be on a poster. Oh, wait, you are. Again, those that are joining, please make sure you turn on your chat. I'm putting some messages in there for you today for our meeting, as well as you're going to want to add in your contact information, your name, your organization, and your job title, please. That would be great. And you'll want to round up your Northwest STEM mug for a picture later. You're going to notice in our slides this cute little doggy. That is actually my dog Tucker. Isn't he cute? He's now 6 months old. Thank goodness he's not joining us for our meeting this morning, because that would be a little chaotic. While we're waiting for folks to join, you might want to think about prepping for our discussion later about ways that we can partner. So if you are an education partner, maybe think about, you know, I have this upcoming lesson coming up or a unit, and I'd really love to have a business partner be able to do blah, 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 something, partner with me some way. If you're a business partner, maybe thinking about, you know, we could really do a virtual tour. We could do interviews. We could do all kinds of stuff. We could join in virtually in Zoom. So to kind of start thinking about ways that you would be willing to partner with either a business entity or an education entity while we're waiting for everyone to join. All right. Well, we have a wonderful crowd joining us today. So many are here. This is awesome. We'll be expecting about 46 attendants according to the registration, so others will be joining shortly. As I mentioned before, if you just hopped on, please make sure you check your chat as I'm putting some messages in chat. I will be throughout the meeting, and so that way you can see my messages as well as find out who's all joining us today in the chat. So we're having everyone put in their name, their organization, and their job title so that we kind of know who's in our audience. And we'll start in about 2 minutes officially, as others are joining. Wonderful group with us. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking your time out of your very busy schedules amid all of the COVID issues to join us. So appreciate this. It just shows your commitment to STEM in Northwest Iowa and partnerships with education and business. This is so exciting. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. Welcome again, everyone. If you haven't already heard me say this multiple times, make sure you turn your chat on because we're putting some messages in here throughout our meeting today, and as well you'll find out all the folks that are joining us today also. We will be recording this meeting. In fact, it is being recorded now. And then also we'll be capturing all of the chat as well too. So we have that discussion of some great discussions going on there. And then also at the end of the meeting, I'll be able to share with you also our spreadsheet of participants. So if you're wondering about, how do I get in contact with this person and that person, you'll have all that information as well too. So you can continue with those partnerships. So you don't have to scurry to get everyone's information down. And officially, I'm Mary Trent, Northwest STEM Regional Manager. I'm located out of Estherville at Iowa Lakes Community College. I'm coming to you from my home this morning in Carroll. And I've been a manager for 3.5 years now and absolutely love it. It's a great, great opportunity for me to stretch my creative wings, so to speak, and have a lot of fun and provide great quality STEM education to our youth in Northwest Iowa. So, and today our purpose is to, we hear all the time from our business partners and our education partners, man, I would really like to just partner with a business, or I'd really like to get involved in school. How do we go about doing that? And this is really a time and a place that I'm facilitating for you, time and a place to do that, to talk, to plan, to walk away with actual plans going on. We know that there's issues with COVID, but we're not going to let that stop us. There are ways to get around COVID. We've done it. We've had great success with it. And so we want to share some of that with you as well, too, that It can be an obstacle, but it can be an opportunity too. And so let's look at the ways that it can be an opportunity for us to partner. And so we'll talk about some of those things as well too. And I would like for you, it's this time that everybody loves, right? Getting a photo. But if you have your Northwest STEM mug handy, oh, look at you guys, that's awesome. Hold it up. And I'm going to take some screenshots, okay? I don't think I can snap my camera and hold my mug up all at the same time. So I'm going to put mine down. All right, everybody. 1, 2, here's the first one. Cheese. All right, now coming around to the next. I got another page here. All right, everybody hold your mugs up again. And cheese. Oh, sweet. Okay, super. Thank you. I hope you enjoy your mug. Everyone that registered for for our virtual meeting received a mug. If you didn't get one, put it in the chat. My lovely assistant Janet will make sure you get one. They're really, you know, sought after. I mean, obviously they're just really special. Okay, so that's our picture, and as we're continuing on here. Okay, and so we have some really super special guests with us today. We're going to do 2 sessions of guest speakers, and we're going to start with Erin Shute and her partner Michelle Sieglum from Sieglum Farms. They're going to be talking to us about the partnership that they have with Computer Sciences Elementary. Kingsley Pearson, where Erin is from, she is the curriculum director, instructional design, or instructional and digital learning coach. She does everything there. And at Kingsley Pearson, they won the award for the Computer Sciences Elementary, and they've done some really unique and awesome partnerships. And so they're going to share with us first some of the things that they have been doing with their partnerships. And I'm going to let Erin take it over here in just a second. She's going to share her screen with us. So Erin, welcome, and your partner, Michelle, we're going to turn it over to you folks. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mary. I think Michelle might be on, but I'm not sure. Are you there, Michelle?
I'm here.
All right, wonderful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see. Sure, from our presentation. Is that going? Can everybody see that?
No, we can't see your screen, Erin. Can you try and share again?
Okay, let me try again.
It was up for just a second, and then there you go.
Are we good now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Like Mary said, my name is Erin Shute, and I am the project lead for the Kingsley Elementary Computer Sciences Elementary project for the Kingsley Pearson Community School District. So today, Michelle and I will share a little bit about our experience that we had last year. A lot of that has changed due to COVID, but we'll share an example of what we were able to partner and do last year with students. So one of the requirements of the Computer Sciences Elementary project is to partner with community businesses. Kingsley Elementary was fortunate enough to partner with 14 area businesses that have various connections to computer science in their respective career fields. One of the areas of focus for our project is to stay connected to our community's agricultural roots. That is where our connection with Sieglum Farms came in. During the 2019-2020 school year, we were able to take our 4th grade students to Sieglum Farms to see how they use technology and computer science in their farming operation. Students were able to experience a variety of activities in both agricultural and computer science. Michelle was able to set up 2 different rotations for students to go through, and I'm going to have Michelle talk a little bit about what some of those activities were.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay, or see me, or we're good?
Yep.
Okay, all right. My name is Michelle Sieglum, and I farm along with my dad just west of Kingsley, and we raise corn and soybeans. And the 4th grade class that came out last fall had about 40 kids in it, so we decided to split them up into 2 different groups. And there I am, telling the kids on the bus, there's the first group that came out there. I wanted to explain to them, we had 2 combines out there in the field, and the first thing I started showing them was the white GPS receiver on top of the combine, and how important that was, and that we were receiving signals from anywhere from 10 to 13 different satellites up there. So the combine would know exactly our precise location. And then I was able to, I would show them this tablet, which is very similar to the monitor that's in the combine. And so then they could see that they were sitting, you know, right here in the specific field, and there was the terrace, and they could see what was going on, that information from those satellites was getting put onto a tablet or a computer monitor. And showed them the USB stick that we use, that is put in the computer monitor in the combine. And so I wanted to give them a little bit of background as to what they were going to be seeing when they got in there. And then also I showed them the finished product. So once we take that stick out of the computer monitor, what we want to get, and it's various maps. So they can see, you know, there's the field, that's where we were, exactly what we had done. And then the data that we get out of that. The reason that's so important is because it's important with the inputs that we want to decide on for the following year. So we had 2 combines in the field. We had about 3 to 4 kids in the combine. We would take them on a quick ride. They could see as we were going through the field, recording the data. And I would say that there was about 50% had never been in a combine before, even though we're in an agriculture area. And so it was a neat experience for them. That was one thing that we wanted to do, was if we could set this field trip up, because we thought it was important to have some hands-on experiences for these kids. There's a picture right there. My dad had the other group in at the farm, which is just a half mile down the road there, and showing them how our grain drying system works and how we use technology for that, and that you can have an app on your phone, and that would completely control what's going on. We can take care of that and monitor things in the drying system through technology in that regard. And then we showed them we have temperature cables that go down in through the bin, and there are sensors on those, and we plugged in, and with our monitor there, we can plug in and show the different temperatures throughout the grain bin. So there's another use of technology that we use, and explain to them that it's important that we know if we've got a hot spot in a bin, then that identifies a problem easily for us, instead of having to find it later on and have a bigger problem. There's some kids by the quad track there, some of the equipment that they got to see. And there's one in the combine with me there. We also had First Co-op out, and they're another business partner that Aaron has there in town, and they explained some soil sampling to the kids. And there's a gentleman from the co-op right there, and you know, you can get in depth with these kids on a lot of stuff, but we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to kind of give them a quick overview and show them, you know, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to sample the soil, we're going to send that in, and we're going to get a map back that's going to vary a lot. And he had information on that, and he gave everybody handouts and showed them how the fields vary so much. And then through technology, we write a prescription for that specific field, and then we put our fertilizer on differently based on that prescription. And so, like I said, we didn't want to confuse them with a lot of things, but just show them that there's a lot of different options out there for them, you know, get them excited about different careers in agriculture.
Thanks, Michelle. Another thing that we did while students were going through those different rotations, we took what the students were doing in the classroom and applied it to this as well. So here in this next few pictures here, I'm going to flip through it so you can see real quick. So we went into one of their buildings that they had after they finished going around the farm, and we asked them to use their bee-bots, which is a programmable device, to harvest their own corn based off of these mats. So we wanted them to come up with a plan to get around to harvest all their corn, but we put obstacles like tree stumps and pickup trucks into their fields so that they would have to maneuver around and think ahead about how would they harvest this with their little bee robot. So let's see. They also used a dash robot. I didn't have a picture of that to do something similar. Students were asked to combine their own fields doing this activity. So some of the benefits that we had to this experience, there were so many. Like some students had never, even though our school is surrounded by fields, some of them had never been in a field or to a farm. So that was just a cultural experience for them. There's a lot of the agricultural connection. The students were able to see computer science in their own community in a different way besides their typical understanding of what computer science is, and I'm sitting at a computer and I'm programming. And then this just showed them different careers. We had the first co-op out there, we had Michelle and her family and the whole team out there, and then they saw the educational application of it as well. So I'm hoping after all of this COVID is done and over with that we will be able to do this again with other students. Last year's 4th grade class was a bigger class of 40 for us. So we were able to replicate this for all the other grades at that time. But I'm hoping that in the future we will be able to do this again with some other students. Some challenges. The fact that we weren't able to replicate it for other students was a challenge. And like I mentioned before, COVID has taken away any opportunities for business partners to come into our building or to take our students out of the building. So we really have to rely upon our virtual options right now to give our students those unique experiences. And timing. Timing is a big part of this. Michelle and I went back and forth several times because they left corn in their fields for us to come and harvest. So that was a very time-sensitive thing. And weather in agriculture is a huge piece of that as well. So the timing of that, or just with any of our other business partners, what works during a school day might not necessarily work for the business partner, but we're coming to find where that common ground is. So that's another challenge, but through communication, we can work through those. So that is what we have for our little part. We'll open it up for questions.
Erin, could you also share with us what you plan to do for the Hour of Code the first week in December with your business partners?
So Computer Science and Education Week is December 7th through 14th. No, that's 7th through 11. And in the past, we've had business partners come in and talk with our students and give demonstrations and things like that. But with COVID, we're unable to do that this year. So my plan is to reach out to our business partners and ask them to record like a 5-minute video about their job and how technology and computer science is related to their specific career, so that we can play that during Computer Science Week instead of them coming in to present or us going out to their workplace. I think that's where we're going to find that common ground this year. So I'm really hoping that we can get some of our business partners to participate in that. And we're not expecting something grand, professionally done. I'm looking for cell phone videos is what I'm really looking for. And just like a tour of their workplace, or just a conversation about how they use technology and computer science in their day-to-day jobs. So I'm hoping that we can get some business partners to participate in that so that students will be able to at least have that experience this year.
That's awesome. Thank you. We do have a question in the chat, and I believe this is for Michelle. Do you use strip fertilizer or broadcast?
Generally, we broadcast. And then based on if we've done soil sampling for a particular farm that year, then we'll variable rate that on the broadcast.
Awesome. Thank you. Questions, other questions? We're opening it up. Comments? We have some comments saying that it seems like a great win for kids and local ag industry. For sure.
Mary, can I just open up my mute button and just ask, Erin, were you able to take that experience then and put it into a project in your classroom?
No, but in the past we have applied for other agricultural grants. So we've been able to connect it to other experiences in the classroom, but we didn't connect it to any specific project at that point.
So it's more of an awareness thing for the kids, which is great.
Yes, and this was our first connection with the partnership. So now that we know what it looks like in the future, if we're able to do it again, we have an idea of how we can connect it back. And when they were, now that you say that, we did connect it to a vocabulary activity as well in the classroom. So you guys saw a picture of the bee-bots. We also used the dash robots that are like 3 blue little balls stuck together that you can program. And we pulled out agricultural words and definitions and had them program their word to their definition. So we were incorporating that aspect as well. So we wanted it to be an all-encompassing experience.
Thank you. Yes, and you can absolutely open up your mics and ask questions as well too, please. We do have a couple in the chat, one from Beth Bunkers. Have you ever used any ag lessons from ag in the classroom?
Yes. Different classrooms in the elementary have used the ag in the classroom curriculum and opportunities. I'm not sure if the 4th grade had ever done anything with that, but I think some of our lower grades might have.
Okay, great. From Tanya Hunt, what would you say to a business that may be tentative about participating? What's the benefit?
So I would say yes, we have had businesses that are tentative. They want to participate, but they don't know how to participate. So last year, I think it was about this time last year, we ended up doing a computer science partnership collaboration meeting where we pulled everybody into the school. And this was before Computer Science Week because we wanted to show them how they could participate in that week. So we gave them a variety of options. So we had pulled a bunch of computer science related, just like picture books. And we said, if you just want to come in and you want to read a book to a classroom, that's a way you can participate. So we just wanted to give them opportunities that were not intimidating to be able to open that door. So we had some come in and do demonstrations. Then I think that once we can open the school back up, they will continue to do that. I'm hoping that with this video option, that might, I think some businesses are afraid to come in and talk to little kids. And so I think that might be a non-threatening way for them to be able to participate where they don't have to stand in front of 25 kindergartners and answer their questions. And I think another barrier to that is they don't feel comfortable putting what they do at a level of a kindergartner. Like, how do I describe what I do every day to a kindergartner so that they can understand? So, and I've offered it up to partners to say, call me and we'll figure out a way that we can do something together and I'll help kind of guide you through that process. Last year, we also had a graphic design company that is one of our partners that made our big, wonderful banner that says Kingsley Elementary loves computer science that hangs on the front of our school. They came in and talked about how computer science helps them when they're designing graphic images and how all of that does. And then they created their own activity. We did it right before Christmas break. And they did binary code ornaments with students with pipe cleaners and beads. And so that was something that they just came up with on their own, and then the third graders got to participate with that. So they got the career exploration and a fun little computer science activity that was unplugged as well. So we kind of have all across the board where businesses have some ideas and need some help on how does that apply to the school. And then we, on the other hand, we have some businesses that don't know where to start. And I'm happy to be that person to help collaborate and find a way that we can get you to interact with students in a way that everybody's comfortable.
Awesome. And I'd just like to add too, your friendly Northwest STEM regional manager can help do those things too. If you want to, and those videos too, they can go all over the place and at multiple times and come back to visit. And so that's really great for our educators too right now, that they can be flexible with something like that. I think timing and everything like that is really important, to be flexible. And with our educators, and Erin, I love that you're sharing your stories with us again too. We so appreciate the time that you and effort you put forth, and thank you guys for joining so much. Appreciate it. Michelle, thank you so much for partnering, being brave, and really throwing your hat in the ring and inviting those crazy kids out to your farm. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Next we have up Matt Hansen. He is the industrial tech teacher from MMCRU. He just happens to be involved in a few of our programs also. He is a STEM Best winner for our program. That's students and businesses partnering, and that is a $25,000 award that he got for his efforts there. He has been a teacher extern, I believe, 3 times, right, Matt? And then also he was last year our STEM Teacher of the Year. So he is just really a rock star. We're glad that he could join. With him today, he has one of his partners, Scott Lowell, the CEO of Smithco Side Dump in Lamar's. And I was coming back from Esterville the other day, and guess what was in front of me? A side dump truck. I was like, oh, I know those guys. That's awesome. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to you guys to present and talk to us about your partnership.
All right, thank you very much, Mary. So yeah, kind of give you guys a rundown of our program. As Mary said, we have a pretty unique industrial technology program here in Marcus. And a lot of that is attributed to industry partnerships and just making connections between our high school program and hopefully creating a pipeline of talented kids that are entering the workforce, specifically in the skilled trades. I'm sure some of you have probably heard me talk before, but I'll kind of give you a general synopsis. Is that this is my 7th year in education. After my first year, I was shared between the two school districts when we were just MMC and RU. And after my first year teaching, I went out and started reaching out to other educators in the area, hoping to find out, what I could be doing as a teacher to better benefit my kids. And while there's a lot of great things that happen in industrial technology all over Northwest Iowa, I knew that I wanted to try to do something a little bit different. And so I began reaching out to area industry, anything from carpenters, plumbers, welders, area manufacturers, and so on, and just asking a simple question of what can I teach in high school shop class that's going to better prepare kids to enter the workforce after they leave. Because as many of you in education know, not all kids want to go to college. Not all kids are going to get the opportunity. So I guess my thought process is that you got to give them the best education you possibly can. And so that's what kind of led me to start reaching out to 2 of our biggest area manufacturers that I first contacted was Scott Lovell with Smithco Side Dump and RJ Thomas Manufacturing in Cherokee. And we just started kind of collaborating together, what can be happening in a high school shop setting that's going to benefit a kid to go out and be successful after high school and go out and work in industry. And so after a lot of conversations and whatnot, I started implementing basically feedback from industry. If we're doing something in a high school welding class, I know that it's something that they're gonna see out in industry, or whether they're gonna see in a place like Smithco as a leading employer in our area. And so I know that what happens in our classroom is gonna benefit the kids beyond high school. And I think you'll hear me say that a lot if you're ever to come to our facilities here, is that that's a key thing, is having the content in our classroom, the value beyond high school, and making sure that kids are going to be employable. So to give you guys a rundown though, after 3 years of operating our program, we started whole grade sharing here in Marcus with our high school in Marcus and our middle school in Remsen. And we kind of got to the point where I had taken a program that was on life support. I think we only saw about 22 kids a day between 2 high schools. I eventually grew it to now here in my 7th year teaching, actually. We actually have a second industrial tech instructor this year, and we see roughly 90% of our high school student body. We see about 140 kids a day now come to our industrial technology program. Just a huge calling in anything from cabinet making, construction, manufacturing classes, engineering, and welding fab. And I'll try to share my screen here real quick so you guys can get a brief shot of what our facilities look like. All right. All right, can you guys see that all right?
Yep, we can see that fine.
All right, perfect. So essentially what we have going on in our facilities is our goal was to essentially bring industry to our classroom. I think what I started out in a normal high school would be, and my first couple years teaching would be what you consider a normal high school shop. And now what you guys can see looking out into our shop area is, I guess what you could say is not a normal high school shop by any stretch. We wanted to symbolize, I guess, professionalism and break down barriers in education as far as what life in the skilled trades looks like. I think, and I still see this every time I go to parent-teacher conferences, but there's a major barrier in what parents specifically, and maybe even high school counselors to a certain extent, see as the skilled trades. And anybody that works in manufacturing, for example, knows that most modern manufacturing facilities aren't dark, dingy dungeons like you'd see in the 1940s and 1950s. I mean, a lot of the companies that I partner with our school district, I think most of their facilities are probably cleaner than some people's houses to a certain extent. Very modern, and you're going to see that working in manufacturing doesn't mean it's a dead-end job. It means that you're working in a very skilled profession where you're working with cutting-edge technology, and you have to be very talented to excel. And so what we did with our facility is we started partnering with industry to essentially bring, I guess you could say, a manufacturing type setting to this, or to our students. We always try our best to get kids out into industry and make sure they take a part in just field trips, job shadowing. We also have what's called a jobs internship class where seniors who are in their spring semester have the opportunity to go out from even just a period all the way up to spend half their day in a work-based learning type setting. And it's just an opportunity to essentially get kids out in industry and make sure that they know that working in manufacturing and the skilled trades in general is an opportunity to them and a very successful opportunity. So, and with me today, I have Scott Lovell, who's the CEO of Smithco Side Dump. And I think Scott could probably fill you in a little bit more as far as how his company has benefited from partnering with a high school program like ours. It's obviously a very unique partnership, and I think Smithco has probably benefited from it in some ways. So.
And good morning, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. We good there?
A little bit louder if you could.
Okay. My name is Scott Lovell. I am the president of Smithco Manufacturing. We were one of the first partners with Matt, and it seems like longer than 7 years ago, Matt, when you first came and saw us. But we have done a lot. We're pretty much known for thinking outside the box, not only in what we produce and how we market it and how we react to our customer needs, but also in how we fill our facility for talent, both on the trade side and other sides. When I first got here about 20 years ago, I noticed a severe lack of qualified employees, coming out of high school. And I remember when I was in college, shout out to University of Iowa, I'm an Iowa grad, back in the 90s, if you weren't going to a 4-year institution and got a degree, you were told pretty much that your future is bleak. And I think in many respects, we did a disservice to a lot of kids who were like Matt, who didn't have the initiative or the desire to go to college, didn't have that interest. And they were pretty much rat-holed into thinking that anything they would get beyond going to a four-year college was a dead-end job. So what we do here, and we were doing this before we found Matt, or Matt found us, but we are really big into tours. We bring schools into here all the time, not just Matt's school system, but we've had Lamar, Sioux City, we've had Kingsley Pearson over here, Hinton. About any school system that wants to come into our facility, we let them do that. Because it's important that these kids see what Matt was talking about, that manufacturing is not a dead-end job. And I throw information at them that every kid can relate to, and that is money. And I tell them the story of a kid who came out to us out of Lamar's. He started working for us 2 days after he graduated. And in the first 7 months, he made $35,000. And the next year, he made over 60. A year and a half out of college, and this kid was a welder. He happened to be the state champion welder, and yes, they do have a competition for that. And he used his experiences here to learn other trades, and now he's a manager of a big cattle operation just south of Lawton. And so we helped him further what his interest was in his career. But tours are a big thing we do. We're on Matt's advisory group for business. We've been on that since day one, so we get together when we can and give Matt ideas of what we're seeing and we're not seeing out of the potential workforce that's coming out of the schools. We did a Miller welding pilot project with Matt, where X certain percentage of what Smithco bought from Miller welding products got reimbursed to Matt. And I think we were the only company that did that, Matt? You know, so we've given money to Matt, we've given equipment to Matt. Just getting our name out there. And one of the benefits that we've seen is I have two of Matt's students who came to me pretty much straight out of high school that are currently working for me. They were ready to go from day one from a technical standpoint. Now process and procedures are different everywhere. So we had to do some training there, but they were pretty much ready to go. And I think what separates Matt's program from other quote unquote shop programs, if you will, in the area is that when his kids go to his classes, it's basically, he treats it like a job where they have to interview, they do evaluations, they have to clock in and clock out a project just like they would on any other job. So they get a sense for what it's like to be on the job site prior to ever going to work for anybody. And I think that's some really out of the box thinking and forward thinking on his part. And so we're showing people the possibilities of welding, industrial painting, drafting. We'll take them through the whole process of how we produce a trailer here, from the initial consult with the customer all the way through the design phase, through the manufacturing phase, and out the door. And I think it really opens some kids' eyes to be able to go into a manufacturing facility and say, wow, this is not what I thought it was. And so it's been a really great partnership with Matt. I've really enjoyed watching his program grow and knowing that we've been a part of that. And we're starting to see some benefits in the students that come. We've also done some internships with some of Matt's students. You know, any time that we can help someone determine what they want to do in life, or help them determine what they don't want to do in life, because sometimes they get into something and they don't want to do that either. And I think that's a win-win, especially for the kids. And being in a rural area and you know, you can't swing, I like to say, you can't swing a dead cat in Western Iowa without hitting a weld shop. There are weld shops dotted up and down from Sioux City all the way up to the Minnesota border. And so there's a lot of competition for that market right there, for that type of employee. So anything that we can do to get a leg up on anybody else in the area, we're willing to do. And partnering with Matt has been a great avenue for that.
All right, well, thank you very much, Scott. And I guess I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns as far as what we're doing here in Marcus or how our partnerships have worked. Like I said, we have a very strong advisory board, as Scott alluded to. We have, I think we're well over 50 companies now from not just Western Iowa, but all over Iowa and all over the country that support our industrial trades program, because of what Scott just said, is that we try to take that industry feedback and apply it to our industrial tech program. And hopefully in dividends, we give kids an interest in coming back to us after they either go out and get that post-secondary training, and give them a reason to come home and work for these local industries that support our industrial trades program here. I guess at the end of the day, you could kind of think of our industrial tech program as an economic development effort, is that we want to give kids the skills to go out and be successful, but also give them a reason to come back here to Northwest Iowa and continue to work and grow here. So.
And Matt, could you talk a little bit about your advisory board that you have and why you decided to form that?
Yeah, so our advisory board, like I said, Scott was one of the first, or Scott and Smithco was one of the first companies we invited on. But at the end of the day, like I said, it kind of stemmed back to what I mentioned is that after my first year teaching, I started going out and meeting with other industrial tech teachers. And like I said, I just realized that I wanted to do something different after talking with other teachers. I knew that I didn't necessarily want to be just a shop teacher, I guess is the best way to say it. And I'm not going to paint our program to be, I mean, it's still shop class at the end of the day, but just our approach of delivering it, I wanted it to be different. And I knew I could only do that by having input from industry as far as what goes on in the classroom. So, I mean, obviously we have our state standards and expectations, but I wanted to make sure that our program went above and beyond that to really make sure that kids are well-rounded. I guess at the end of the day, I'm not going to say that every one of our kids that comes through here is a rock star, because that'd be a lie, but I want to know that kids are getting an opportunity that when they leave our program, they're either going to have a heck of a head start on post-secondary training and college format, or they're going to be rock stars when they go out to places like Smithco and go out and working on the shop floors. So.
Thank you. We have a couple questions in the chat. Are there any skill gaps that industry sees that teachers can focus on and teach in the K-12 setting?
I think from a skills gap standpoint, this may surprise some people if they're not in the industry. We're mainly talking about soft skills, the ability to listen, the ability to take instruction, to know the difference between being criticized for discipline's sake versus being criticized for your work for the sake of getting better at what you do. Knowing that you're expected to be on work on time, you're expected to be there every day. Those kind of skills are what we see sorely lacking in people. And that's what I appreciate about Matt. Matt's not only teaching them the technical side of things, because I can take somebody that's never welded before, never painted before, and teach them to do that. That's not the problem. Them coming to us with those technical skills sure makes the onboarding process a lot easier, and my cost to hire somebody a lot less. But it's those soft skills that are really important, and Matt's doing his best to teach those. And I know he will say every meeting he has, he'll ask, what do we need to be teaching? And every person on that board will be saying the same things. And so anything that, you know, I actually have an education degree myself. That's what my degree's in, and here I am running a manufacturing facility. But I also coach. I've coached football for 25 years. So I coach and I teach every day. That's what being a leader is about. And so I know that school systems are being asked to do more today than they ever did before. And there are things that teachers and administrators are trying to instill in kids that, quite frankly, need to be done in the home. So I totally get all that. But I think there's a unique opportunity within the setting that Matt teaches in to match those soft skills up to the technical skills and say, okay, here's what working in the real world's like. And even if they don't ever go into welding or painting or construction, they're going to be much better suited and much better positioned to be successful in the world if they understand what those soft skills are and what they're expected when they get out there.
Well said. Thank you. We have some more questions. Any specific plans to grow this program, Matt, in the upcoming years?
Yeah, actually, so we just hired Nick Long as our second industrial technology instructor here. Main reason we hired Nick Long, he was up at George Little Rock before. Outside of the fact he's a good friend from college, we knew that he had a extremely strong background in the construction trades. And so here in the next year, actually, we have partnered with Marcus Lumber, which if anybody's been through our community, Marcus Lumber is second to none. It's a pretty crazy lumberyard for a small community. And we've partnered up with them to actually start doing spec housing in our communities. So students will have the opportunity to go out for be a block period and go out and actually frame and build houses in our community. And at the end of the day, it just doesn't get much more real than that. I mean, that's the goal at the end of the day of our industrial technology program, is to go out and give kids real world experiences. I have people ask all the time about, you know, what curriculum do you guys use? And there's no curriculum for what we do. What Nick and I teach in this program isn't something that can be taught out of a book. It's something that comes from experience and those types of things. And any educators that are on here, I would definitely say that's something I would preach to you guys is I go out and I do STEM externships every summer and try to work with area manufacturers or even area carpenters. It's just some summertime job, if nothing else. And that experience that you get actually working in industry is the real value that you can bring back to your classroom. So, but yeah, I'd say hiring on Nick with his extensive construction background is one of the opportunities we have to grow our program. We're also actually working on a bond here for this spring as well. We're actually going to be building a new elementary as well as putting another 2,000 square feet onto our facility to take it to about 12,000 square foot facility. So
That's awesome. And there's a few more questions in the chat, and I'm going to ask you, Matt, that maybe you respond to those in the chat because we are over time a little bit. And I want to give us plenty of time to be able to collaborate in our next thing. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would really super appreciate that. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. That has just been amazing for you to share with us what's been going on, and so appreciate the very truthful and great glimpse of what's really out there and what we're lacking. That's the kind of discussions we need to have to make things better and to form our future workforce. So thank you so much for joining us with that. That's so great. Just some things to percolate on. Get the coffee reference. Okay. There's some possible goals that we have when we talk about partnerships with business and education entities, and there's some listed there. I'm not going to read those to you, and then there's always that question too, mainly with our educators, that question of, well, how do I find business partners? And it's really thinking about people people you work with, parents, those kinds of things. Same thing with you folks in industry too. How can you meet with a teacher or a school? How do you do that connection? And it's really kind of who your community is and who do you know, and don't hesitate to reach out because we're all thinking the same thing. We want to partner, we're just not sure how. And over on the right here are ways to partner. And especially down below at the very last ones too, again, with COVID issues, some of those things aren't possible, but they could be possible if you turn it into a virtual situation. You can absolutely mentor virtually. You can absolutely be on advisory boards virtually. And you can do field trips virtually too, our cell phones are a great little device. I mean, they do create some pretty neat videos and we're not looking, like we said, like Aaron said earlier, we're not looking for high quality productions. We're looking for a cell phone propped up or a Zoom recorded video that we can use in our education. And so think about those sorts of things. Our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get into our discussion groups, and everyone cross your fingers because I have never done a breakout room where I've assigned people prior to the meeting. So I'm really hoping this works, because if it doesn't, it is like coffee spilled on a white shirt. We hate that. So we're going to divide into, when you registered, you chose a region that you would like to be in. And so those are the groups that we're gonna, that you've been assigned to. I'm going to put in the chat, give me just 1 second here. I gotta find my chat. There you are. I'm going to put in the chat also a document that will, we're calling it just a sip. It's just sip, get it? Coffee reference. Of how you can partner. And so there's a link there to a Google Doc in which we're asking that you record your discussions, plans, and questions that you have. We're going to give you till about 10 o'clock to have these discussions in the groups. I'm going to put you in those groups in just a second here. And then we'll pull you back in, and then we're going to share out some of those partnerships and things that we're learning about. Does anybody have any questions before I put you in their breakout rooms? All right, everybody collectively cross your fingers. Okay, let me see if I can find breakout rooms. Okay, here we go. Ah. Okay, 1 second here. Let me see here. Okay, are you? Okay, here's one room. Oh, 19 people. Okay, so you guys can start your discussion.
You did it, Mary.
Oh, scary. I don't know if everyone got into a room though, so I'm gonna.
I think you can. I think you can flip from room to room, so
Yeah,
you can
I
check
can't,
that.
so I'm gonna try and join another room. Good luck, everybody. Okay. Is everyone in a group? Yeah. Okay, guys, you can go ahead and start your discussions. Okay, there's group one.
Given an evaluation, this is where you need to improve, and their ability to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to accomplish this, what they're asking me to do. Pretty much if we're talking from a skill standpoint, you know, we're a customized production manufacturing facility, which is kind of an oxymoron.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I'm Kirsten Hunter. Oh, sorry, Kent, go
No,
for it.
go ahead, Kirsten.
Okay, I'm Kirsten Hunter. I am been with A&I for 2 years now, but I am brand new into the employee relations rep role. So really intrigued about this and kind of how we can network with the local schools.
And I'm Kent Hieronymus with Interstates out of Sioux Center.
Let's see, I can be the recorder here. I got the document pulled up. First question is, what are you currently doing with education business partnerships?
Mary, would everybody be assigned now?
They should be.
Okay.
Do you have the document?
All right. I'm writing in the notes here.
Okay, let me get the document here too.
Okay. So the first discussion topic is, what are you currently doing with education or business partners?
This is where you chat, folks.
Sabrina with Rosenboom in Sheldon and Spirit Lake here. Working with schools, we have our Lakes Area Registered Apprenticeship that we are still waiting candidates for, but that's an opportunity that we're looking at. Programs written and ready to go for CNC lathing and mill, and then we're currently working with a couple.
Our engineering department and show them the different programs that we run, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, and so forth, to give them an idea of what it might be like to work here and so forth. I think the most important thing is just getting in front of the kids and making it relatable to them. They don't know what a manufacturing facility looks like unless they watch TV or the news. And usually if a manufacturing facility is on the news, it's not because of good reasons.
Yeah. Right. The Northwest AEA is looking at starting a regional academy, part of that being apprenticeships. Is that something that you would be interested in having a conversation with?
That's interesting you say that. We've already had, it was probably a year ago, maybe a little longer than that. We had some conversations with Iowa Workforce Development about apprenticeships here. A lot of work to get one started. And so we haven't gotten very far with that at the moment, but yeah, we don't say no to anything. If it gives us exposure to a potential workforce and helps develop what we're looking for. And
looking at really articulating a sequential series of things that happen with kids and business partners throughout their school career. So we start with the 8th grade career day, which is at the community college, which they do the lion's share of the work on that. Then at freshman and sophomore level, traditionally at once every 2 years, we bring in all the freshmen and sophomores in Lyon County to do a career day, which is really hosted mostly by an advisory group on which I sit with some other individuals, all the guidance counselors. And it's mostly hosted by the Lyon County Economic Development Group. And then once they're juniors, of course, there's another career day opportunity back at the community college. And then once they're seniors, I work very closely with all of the seniors that want to do a job shadow or apprenticeship type program during Genius Week. We're not quite sure how that's going to look, even though we've moved it to March from January this year, just because of the entire health situation. But Allie and I are working on how that will look.
Like I mentioned before, Kingsley Pearson is really connecting with our 14 business partners through our Computer Sciences Elementary project. Like our example with Michelle doing
doing lots of great training at several companies, one of which is Sekisui in Orange City, and lots of other companies with our training, business and industry training.
What was the name of that company, Aletha?
It's Sekisui.
They
Try to spell that.
It's SEKISUI. My fiance works there, so.
Yeah,
You don't
they
know.
joined us for our Advanced Manufacturing Festival, the virtual one we had that covered our 19 counties. Great partner. And when COVID's over, we're going to tour them. We're excited.
All right, spell it for me one more time.
SEKISUI.
I would have never gotten that. Okay.
We toured them last year, and it happened to be Halloween. So the guy was dressed up as Woody, our tour guide, and we had like freshmen, sophomores touring, and he did a cookie cutter example for the entire manufacturing. So like the raw materials, like the dough, and you have to put it together, and it was just great how they put it down into words that the freshmen and sophomores would understand.
And Ben, Haywarden isn't that far from Sioux Center and Orange City, and there's lots of great companies there that I saw interstates on this.
And Link was there.
And Link, and I mean, there's lots of great companies that are more than willing to partner or to, do tours, that kind of thing.
You know, too, like we talked about, you know, things being virtual, you know, we can, now we don't have to travel, you know, that sort of thing. So even if it is across the state of Iowa or in another state even, you know, we can do those sorts of things now that we're kind of pushed into it, kind of, you know, with COVID. But now, again, looking at the possibilities and the potential is just really awesome to see.
I have a question for the group. Earlier it was talked about like one of the biggest barriers for our businesses is not that they don't want to get involved, but they don't know how to communicate to students, how to bring their jobs down to other levels. And what have you guys seen as some of the most effective training tools to use with businesses, or what have you guys had any really big wins with how to train businesses to communicate to students?
Barb, you're part of the Your Future at Work. We did trainings with businesses for presenters last year. We didn't have the greatest turnout because most of them came every year, so they knew what they were doing. But the ones that did come were very interactive. So drawing a blank on her name, Katie, is that right, Beth?
Yeah.
She and I did a presentation, and instead of using a PowerPoint, we did it all hands-on, so that we could show them how to do a presentation without just reading from a PowerPoint.
I had a thought, and I'm just going to throw this out, but every year when we do our externships at the end of the year, we put together, I'll call it a testimonial page. And so we have a picture, we have a testimony, like a quote from our extern, and then we do a short little paragraph, a description of what it is that they've done. Would it be helpful when I heard somebody before talk about, you know, how do you get started, especially on the business side? Well, I'd love to partner. What do I do? If we had those examples like written out that you could use for the different types of business, similar like to what we do with externships, do you think something like that would be helpful? Or is it already
up about it? So Chris is
And
trying
that's
to.
the thing, I gotta walk
Yeah.
a fine line. So yes,
Yeah.
Christy, if I could get in touch with you after this, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be great. I know what I told Chris and Mark Vandentop is, you know, even though you guys can't officially join, that doesn't mean I can't help you guys out, because we're here to help the industry as a whole in the area. And if you guys are very willing and ready to do that, well, let's definitely work together. I get it.
Thank you. Okay.
So.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Am I hearing partnerships being formed already?
It's happening.
Yes.
That's awesome. Continue, folks. It's great.
Yep. Anything, I don't know if you guys have the document up, if you can see what I have typed in. I'm not the best note taker, so help me edit if needed. Any other current things you want to list? I got a couple questions that we put in there that might go back to the group possibly. Otherwise, the next one is, what would you like to do with education business partnerships? So any ideas or brainstorms you might have?
So my dream state is being able to make those connections with the local schools and have some sort of student internship, feeder program, something along the lines of that. I just, again, with it being John Deere, I know there's some, you know, they'd have to be 18 and then safety, especially now with COVID times, but I would love to somehow bring these students in on site, get them that on-hand experience, as well as an opportunity for employment if that's the route they want to go.
Hey, Kirsten, on that one, I was on I think it was either a STEM one or a apprenticeship. I think maybe it was the high school apprenticeship one, probably a couple of weeks ago, and that your comment on the 18-year-old, I was actually not aware. And it was actually, I think it was the guy from John Deere down in Waterloo, or one of those, that it's actually 16 because for an internship, it's actually considered a learning opportunity. So when the connection was between the school and the business, the child labor laws were less stringent than they are when it is just strictly trying to bring somebody in that's under the age of 18. When it was that apprenticeship work, yeah, it was not that 18-year-old child labor laws. So they could do, I think, almost anything except for drive some of the bigger vehicles.
Thank you.
The caveat with that is it's a one-to-one mentorship. So how it was explained to me is this mentor is like within 5 feet of the student at all times.
Okay.
Which makes sense not only for safety, but also for, good instruction along the way. But yep, that is true from what I found as well.
I think for me, the interest, but you have to remember on elementary is just more an awareness. I mean, it could be career awareness. It could be, like connection to real life. I mean, a more open, but there's much more of a variety out in our community that I think our kids, younger kids, have no awareness of. Like even the first example, the amount of technology a farmer faces on a daily basis. I mean, they're just not aware of that. I share that too. My husband has hog facilities and the computer system within each of our buildings is phenomenal. But children don't think of that. They just see the,
We're slowly starting to populate back in. Looks like we have just about everyone back in. All right, very good. Well, we all broke out and we all came back together. I think that's a win. So let's talk about some of the partnerships and plans that you all have come up with. You may unmute yourself and share with us. Oh, come on now, don't be shy. There's a lot
In our
of
breakout room, we talked about the teacher externships. and talked about that with Scott and the value in that, and having him be interested in possibly hosting a teacher in the near future. Also, the Northwest AEA is looking at creating a regional academy and looking at apprenticeships. So possibly having future conversations with that as well.
Great. Others? Christy Heisinger, I know you had some partnership that was formed there. I'm picking on you.
Yeah, Kirsten is new with A&I over in Rock Valley there, so she was asking how does she get started. So she and I are going to talk later on, because that's what my primary responsibility is with the Northwest Iowa Manufacturing Sector Group, is helping education and business build those relationships, being that connector. So we're going to do that just to kind of get her acquainted with the educational contacts at the schools. And then we also talked about two things kind of came out of it. One is, if companies are making these videos to do virtual tours and things like that, it'd be nice if there was a place that they could submit these videos in like a common housed website of some sort, so then other schools could access it and get to it. We create this content, but how can we get it out there so it's more available to others? No action plan from there, but that was an idea that was thrown out. And then towards the end, our conversation was, how can we start building those soft schools in the elementary? We had the elementary administrator from MOC there, to start with that at that younger level. Again, a comment, but no next steps were talked about at this point.
Great. Yeah, and I think the Northwest STEM website would be a great place to house those videos. I'd be happy to do that. That way, all folks could, visit those in our Northwest region, and we would be happy to house that. You could just send us your videos, and we'll create a page, and that way we'd have a collection of those. I think that's a great idea. The soft skills is something that I think, as I was popping in and out of meetings, I heard a lot about that. Also heard a good question too about how do we help businesses to communicate with students? Sometimes businesses think if we're talking to high school students, we need to have this 20-year-old something talk to them, but if they can't articulate, or if they can't do a good presentation, it sort of falls short. So it's not necessarily about age, it's more about, the quality of the communication, someone that's passionate about their job. So does anybody else have any other comments on that topic? How do we help businesses communicate with our students?
Mary, I think that maybe by housing those videos and having examples at this point in time so that they can see what it would look like might get others to want to participate more.
Right, I can see that for sure. Other partnerships, Beth, do you, the Remsen accounting firm, can you talk about that?
It's really not Remsen. It's even though it's RSM.
RSM. It looked like short for Remsen.
I know. My alma mater. No, it really is an international accounting firm that sits in Cedar Rapids. It used to be McGladrey. Anyway, I have a connection there, and Ben was looking for somebody who could talk about, with his accounting students, larger scale. And what that is like. And so I said I would reach out to her and maybe she could Zoom with his classroom.
Perfect. And that, that's a great point too, Beth. Your county extension offices, your natural, I'm not even thinking about it, your naturalists, things like that. Reach out to those folks, your Chamber of Commerce, those places, they will help you to make those connections as well, for sure. Any
Tons of
other
partners.
shares? Yeah. Other shares?
You know, we didn't get a chance to talk about this during the group, but I'll use this as an example of something we did with Computer Science Elementary. Mary, you might remember this, but we were able to enlist one business partner that actually advocated on behalf of that program to a lot of other business partners to really get that off the ground. So don't hesitate to ask a partner that you're already working with for a reference of who else they think would be good to work with. It might be a competitors of theirs, it might not. And then even go so far as to say, hey, would you mind putting a call into them on our behalf? Because it not only gives them the opportunity to talk about the value of the partnership that they already have with you, but it gets their peers excited about wanting to join in and being part of the party, I'll say. So that was very, very valuable when we set up the Computer Science Elementary program early on.
Good point. Thank you very much. All right, I'm calling for one.
Mary, if I could add one comment.
Please.
I think I work with the talent, you know, my official title at George Little Rock is the Gifted and Talented Specialist and Talent Pool Coordinator. But I have to, I guess COVID has brought us a real opportunity here. And I'm saying that I talked to officials at the local community college because more than ever, I am seeing students that may traditionally never have thought about anything but a four-year institution, thinking that maybe I'm going to take a gap year and do some community college classes and maybe get started and getting some experience and that type of thing and staying closer to home. I think we have a real opportunity right now if we can recruit students into, I think somebody called it their passion areas, where their strengths and interests are. Because I don't know how many times I've seen kids go away to four-year institutions, secure what amounts to a very small house mortgage, and then come back and decide, no, I'm gonna do this because this is what I really wanted to do all along, whether it's health OC or whatever. And I think we are at a real crossroads here. It'd be great if we could get to a place where we could get manufacturers, for instance, to come into schools or do virtual visits with students just like colleges do. You know, I think, you know, that's where I think we need to go so the kids can really get an accurate view of what the benefits are of maybe more than one way to a BA. That's just my opinion on that. And I think now is the time.
I agree, 100%. Great idea. And it's, you know, it'll help to not only help shape our future workforce, but it'll also provide those companies, you know, when we travel around, we always hear companies are always looking for employees, right? And so it's a win-win for both entities if we can make those partnerships, for sure. One last shout out. Did anybody else want to share? All right, thank you again for that collaboration and chatting and stuff. That's awesome. Well, I would be remiss if I did not talk about our great STEM programs that we have that can help facilitate these sort of partnerships. And we really have three strong programs that really talk about this, and that is our STEM Best, our teacher externships, and our STEM festivals. And so our STEM Best programs is business educating students and teachers. And we have 50 plus, I think now, programs for the state of Iowa. And it's just this kind of partnerships that we're talking about. And again, getting kids out of the classroom and into the real world of work. It's a $25,000 award with a $25,000 match. The match can be in kind as well. And we have Tanya Hunt with us on our call as well too. She's our project manager for this. this is a great resource and a great program to hop on. It's one of our governor's favorite programs. So it's one of those things too, where it's a great opportunity to take advantage of this and to get something like this going. And with so many programs in the state of Iowa from various different shapes, colors, and sizes of this, you can really find some great mentors to help you get something like this going as well too. So it's not reinventing the wheel necessarily in some cases, but it's taking something maybe that's already going on and shaping and molding it to your school and your community for those needs and stuff too. So if you'd like to have more information about what the STEM Best program is all about, if you go to iowastem.gov/STEMBest, you'll be able to find more information out about this program. Really great. Matt talked about teacher externships. He's done it many times in the summer. I'd still do this too if I could. This is a great opportunity. 6 weeks you spend as an educator in a business in the summer. This is really great too. 3 graduate credits and $4,800 to do it. It's difficult to find some grad credit that's really meaningful to you, especially if you're an experienced teacher, an educator. This is a great way to do it. We're hearing back from a lot of our educators that this is some of the best professional development they've ever done. And so it's a really great opportunity to take advantage of that. You can apply anytime. As a business, you can offer to host an extern. We're always looking for businesses to do that. So please sign up for that. It's a great opportunity for businesses too, to maybe address some of those projects that always get pushed to the back burner. Pull in an extern, a teacher extern, and have them focus on that project and get that knocked off. That would be a great project for them. If you'd like more information about that, we go to iowastem.gov/externships. So please consider that as well too. We also have, there we go, stop that, oops, sorry. It's getting away from me. There we go. We also have STEM festivals. And, you know, when COVID hit, we were kind of scrambling as managers about, you know, how can we do this? Because it's hands-on challenges where we collaborate with each other. As you can see the pictures, we're all close to each other. How do we go about doing this now? And we're, again, kind of stretched with our creativity about thinking outside the box and about how can we make this happen for our youth. And so we are doing a lot of virtual things, just like what we're doing today too. We were able to do some STEM festivals that were virtual. We just had an advanced manufacturing festival, and we opened it up to our 19 counties, and we had over 600 students sign up for it. We hit schools and homeschools and organizations that we never ever had hit before that participated, I think strictly because it was virtual. They were able to access it. So again, if we look at COVID and all the challenges and things we can't do, it limits us. But if we look about the things that we could possibly do and think outside of the box, there's a lot of options that we can consider doing. And so it's really great to be able to host these festivals and keep it going. And we're looking at the data and our reach. And again, it's just been phenomenal. So we will continue to do so. Hands-on STEM activities. We're connecting with career pathways as well too, and area businesses. So really a great opportunity. And if you'd like to learn more about our festivals, you can go to iowalakes.edu/STEM. That's my website at our hub. That's really all that I have for us today. It's been an amazing, informative it's morning. And I so appreciate everyone joining. Any last comments or questions, let me know. I'm going to open it up again too. I'm going to put in the chat a link to the evaluation of this event also, and my email address there too. So if you have any questions or follow up with me, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm just going to open it up for any comments or questions before we sign off. I think we all need another cup of coffee. All right, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining. We so appreciate it. This was recorded and we will be putting this on the Northwest STEM website. So if you'd like to go back or share it with somebody else, we certainly can. As I said, I'll be sharing contact information with you too from everyone that signed up and registered. And thank you again for joining. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.